The Galactic Coalition was once a shining example of peace and strength. 17 alien species had come together to form a powerful alliance. For centuries, they had explored the stars, built great cities on distant planets, and shared their knowledge. But now that unity was fading. A cold shadow was spreading across the galaxy. The enemy was known as the Vorix Swarm, a terrifying force made of countless insect-like creatures that moved as one. The Vorix had no mercy. They destroyed everything in their path. Commander Talreen of the Valtari species stood on the bridge of the warship Sentinel. His many eyes scanned the star maps carefully. The sensors showed the nearby system of Raxor 5 was under attack. The Coalition's defenses were failing. The Vorix were advancing faster than anyone could stop them. Talreen was tired. He had fought for decades in this endless war. He had seen planets fall, millions of lives lost, and friends turned to dust. But still the Vorix would not stop. He turned to the council officers gathered behind him. "Our forces are stretched too thin. We cannot hold every system." His voice was calm but heavy with worry. "If Raxor 5 falls, the path to the core worlds will be open." One of the officers, a tall being with glowing blue skin, stepped forward. "We need more help, Talreen. But where can we find it? The Coalition has no new allies. Every species is exhausted." Talreen nodded. "There is one option, but it is risky." He tapped a button on the console and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared. Earth. A quiet murmur passed through the room. Earth was a planet almost forgotten in the Coalition's files. It was far from the war zone, isolated by an ancient quarantine. The Coalition had labeled humans as primitive and unstable. They had no technology matching other species. Their political system was chaotic and their culture was unpredictable. "Humans?" another officer asked. "They have never been part of the Coalition." Talreen's eyes hardened. "Exactly. But their planet has resources we need. And more importantly, humans fight differently. Are you saying we should ask them for help?" The blue-skinned officer looked shocked. Talreen nodded. "It is our last hope." The council was divided. Some feared that humans might bring chaos to their carefully planned war efforts. Others believed any chance to turn the tide was worth trying. After hours of debate, the decision was made. A small envoy would be sent to Earth to make contact. Meanwhile, on Earth, far from the battlefields in space, Colonel Adrian Cross was training soldiers at a military base in Nevada. Cross was a veteran of many conflicts on Earth. He was tough, disciplined, and smart. Unlike most humans, he understood war not just as fighting, but as a test of will and mind. Cross was watching his team run drills when an urgent message arrived. The base's communication officer handed him a sealed transmission. The message was from an unknown source with strange symbols. It took hours to decode. When Cross finally read it, his eyes widened. The message was from the Galactic Coalition. They wanted to meet. Days later, a strange ship appeared in Earth's orbit. It was sleek and silent, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. On board were representatives of many alien species, each curious and cautious. Cross was chosen to meet them. In a large meeting room on the ship, Cross faced the alien council. The room was filled with beings of all shapes and sizes, some with tentacles, some with many eyes, others with smooth, shining skin. A tall, elegant alien stepped forward. "Colonel Adrian Cross, we come in peace. The Galactic Coalition is at war with the Vorix Swarm. We face extinction. We need your help." Cross looked at them calmly. "Why me? Why humans?" The alien smiled slightly. "Because humans have something others do not. You fight with passion, creativity, and determination. We have studied your history and warfare. You are unpredictable, and that is a strength." Cross leaned forward. "You say you want help, but what do you expect? Will you let us join your military? Follow your rules?" The room fell silent. The alien leader's eyes glowed softly. "If you join us, you must fight as one with the Coalition. It will not be easy. Our ways are different from yours." Cross stood tall. "I don't expect it to be easy. But if this war threatens Earth, then we don't have a choice." Back on the Sentinel, Talreen received news of the meeting. The humans had accepted the offer. It was the first time in centuries the Coalition welcomed a new member. The war was about to change forever. In the following weeks, humans were introduced to the Coalition's ways. They trained alongside alien soldiers, learned new technology, and shared their own ideas. Not everyone trusted the humans. Some saw them as reckless and wild. But Cross and his team showed something else, a fierce loyalty to their new allies. Cross worked hard to prove that humanity could be more than the coalition expected. One day, during a training exercise on a distant planet, Cross led a group of mixed-species soldiers through a simulated battle. His tactics were unusual. Instead of strong formations, he used small teams moving quickly and quietly. Instead of powerful weapons, he relied on surprise and strategy. The other commanders watched with mixed feelings. Some were impressed, others worried. Talreen approached Cross afterward. "Your style is different," Cross smiled. "It works," Talreen nodded slowly. "Perhaps this is what the coalition needs." But not all was peaceful. There were whispers of fear and doubt. Some species did not want humans to have power. Some feared their emotions and unpredictability. Cross knew this, but he also knew humans had survived because they could adapt. They could think fast and fight hard. The war with the Vorix was only beginning for Earth. That night, Cross stood on the deck of the human ship docked to the Sentinel. He looked out at the stars, thinking about the battles to come. Behind him, Talreen joined him quietly. "You carry a heavy burden, Colonel," Talreen said softly. Cross nodded. "We all do. But we don't give up, we fight. Because if we don't, everything will be lost." Talreen looked up at the stars. "Perhaps everything will change the moment humans joined this war." Cross smiled, ready for whatever came next. The vast blackness of space stretched endlessly outside the windows of the coalition warship Argus. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Alien officers and soldiers of many different species moved silently, preparing for another battle. The war against the Vorix swarm was relentless, and every victory was hard-won. On the bridge stood Colonel Adrian Cross, a human soldier unlike any the coalition had ever seen. Tall and strong, with a calm but fierce look in his eyes, Cross observed the crew. The humans had only recently joined the coalition, and many questioned their place among the experienced alien forces. "Humans are weak," whispered one Valtari officer to his companion, eyeing Cross suspiciously. "Their bodies are fragile compared to ours. They lack discipline," but Cross did not answer. He had learned early in life that words could be wasted energy. Actions mattered more. The Argus was heading toward a small but important outpost on the edge of coalition space, a place called Loran 9. The Vorix had been attacking it repeatedly. If it fell, a nearby star system would be vulnerable and the entire war effort would suffer. When the Argus arrived, the outpost was under heavy attack. Vorix fighters swarmed the sky, their dark ships moving like angry clouds. Coalition forces were retreating. Talreen, the Valtari commander, was ready to order a full evacuation. Cross stepped forward. "We stay and fight," he said firmly. Talreen looked at him in surprise. "You don't understand. The Vorix are too strong. We will lose many lives." Cross shook his head. "Sometimes losing is worse than dying. If we run now, the Vorix will keep coming, and one day they'll reach Earth." He glanced at the coalition officers around him. "We can hold this outpost if we fight smart." Talreen hesitated, but finally nodded. "Very well, Colonel. Show us how humans fight." The next hours were a whirlwind of chaos and courage. Cross divided the troops into small groups and sent them to key points around the outpost. Unlike traditional coalition tactics, which relied on heavy weapons and strict formations, Cross encouraged flexibility. "Don't just stand and shoot," he said. "Move fast, surprise them. Use the terrain. Hit and run." The humans led by example, sprinting between cover, throwing grenades, and coordinating attacks with hand signals. Their energy and determination inspired the alien soldiers, who slowly gained confidence. The Vorix, meanwhile, were confused. They expected easy victories against what they saw as weak humans. But these new fighters were unpredictable. Cross himself took part in the battle. When a group of Vorix soldiers tried to flank the outpost, he led a counterattack, pushing them back with a combination of precise shooting and clever traps. Talreen watched, impressed. The humans were not only brave, they were clever. Their chaotic fighting style disrupted the Vorix strategy. As the sun began to set on Loran 9, the Vorix forces finally withdrew. Battered and confused, the outpost was saved. Inside the command room, coalition leaders gathered. Talreen turned to Cross. "You have changed the tide of this battle." Cross nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "This is just the beginning. The war will test us all, but if we learn to fight together, we can win." Word of the victory spread quickly through coalition space. Across distant planets, Soldiers whispered of the strange and fearless humans who refused to back down. Yet not all were pleased. Some alien commanders saw humans as reckless, dangerous, and unpredictable. They worried that the humans' methods might cause more harm than good. Cross ignored the criticism. His mission was clear: to help the coalition win by any means necessary. One night, as the stars glittered beyond the Argus, Cross sat alone, staring at a worn photo in his hand, a picture of Earth's blue oceans and green forests. He thought about the battles still ahead, about the countless lives depending on their success, and he promised himself this: humanity would not fail. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been before humans stepped onto the battlefield. The coalition forces, once tired and slow, began to change. Wherever humans fought, the way of war changed too. On the planet Tilor 7, the coalition had long struggled to hold a key supply base. The base sat on a high ridge, surrounded by rocky cliffs and deep canyons. For months, the Vorix had attacked, trying to break through the coalition's lines. But the humans had arrived, and with them a new hope. Colonel Adrian Cross stood with his team in the command center, watching live feeds from the front lines. Around him, soldiers from many species looked tense but ready. "Reports say the Vorix will attack again at dawn," said Lieutenant Asha, a young Valtari soldier. Her eyes were wide with worry. "We have few reserves left," Cross nodded. "Then we need to be ready. But this time we won't just defend. We will make them regret attacking." His team was small but determined. Humans worked alongside Valtari sharpshooters, Marek engineers, and Kalan scouts. They had learned to trust each other, even if they came from worlds far apart. Cross studied the battle maps. The Vorix always attacked in large waves, but their strength was also their weakness. They moved as one, but when confused or divided, they became weaker. "We will split their forces," Cross said, pointing at the map. "Small teams will attack from different sides. We use hit-and-run tactics, confuse them, make them waste their strength." Some commanders looked skeptical. "That is not how we fight," said General Croth, a grizzled Kalan veteran. "The Vorix respect power. They crush anything weaker," Cross smiled. "That is why they haven't fought humans before." When dawn came, the Vorix arrived as expected, dark shapes like swarms of angry insects moving across the rocky landscape. The battle began. Cross led a team through the narrow canyons, hiding among the shadows. With quiet signals, they set traps and prepared ambushes. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed. One of the Vorix groups fell into a pit trap, caught and unable to move. At the same time, from the ridge above, Valtari sharpshooters opened fire on the confused swarm. The Vorix struggled to regroup. Cross's team moved fast, striking weak points and disappearing before the Vorix could react. The battle was not just about strength. It was about speed, surprise, and mind. Human soldiers threw small devices that released smoke and noise, confusing the enemy further. Meanwhile, coalition artillery rained down on the distracted Vorix forces. Hours passed. The Vorix, for the first time in years, began to retreat. The coalition troops cheered. It was a small victory, but it felt like a turning point. After the battle, Cross gathered his team. "Today we showed the power of change," he said. "We don't have to fight like before. We don't have to lose." Lieutenant Asha smiled. "I never thought we could win like this," Cross nodded. "There is more to learn. The Vorix will adapt, so we must too." But the war was changing in more ways than just tactics. In the shadows, the Vorix were not silent. They were learning. Captured Vorix drones showed strange behavior, more organized, more cunning. Intelligence reports warned that the enemy was studying human strategies, trying to copy their unpredictable attacks. Cross met with coalition leaders in a secure room on the Argus. Around the table sat commanders from many species. "We have a problem," Cross said. "The Vorix are not mindless. They are evolving. They watch us, learn from us." Talreen's many eyes narrowed. "If they become like us, this war will become even harder." Cross agreed. "Yes, we must be ready for anything." While the coalition prepared for the next battles, Cross received a secret message. It was from a captured Vorix drone speaking in clear English. "Hello, Colonel Cross. We have been waiting for you." The message sent a chill through the room. "No one knows how it learned our language," Cross said, frowning. "But this means the Vorix intelligence is far deeper than we thought." Talreen spoke quietly. "We may be facing a new enemy, not just a swarm, but something smarter. Cross stared out the window thinking. The war was no longer just about strength or numbers. It was a battle of minds. At night, in his quarters, Cross studied ancient texts from Earth's history. Stories of wars long past where smaller armies defeated stronger enemies by thinking differently. He remembered one lesson clearly. Adaptability was humanity's greatest strength. The next day, Cross called a meeting with his closest officers. "We must innovate faster than the Orcs," he said. "We will use decoys, misinformation, and new technology. We must become as unpredictable as the enemy thinks we are." His officers nodded, ready to try new ways. On the front lines, the coalition forces began to fight smarter. Human teams worked with alien engineers to create new weapons, silent drones, holographic projectors, and traps that confused the Vorik sensors. These new tools turned battles in favor of the coalition. However, not everyone was happy. Some coalition leaders thought these new tactics were risky and dangerous. General Cross warned, "We are losing control. We must not become like the Voriks," Cross replied. "Control is an illusion. To survive, we must change." As the war raged on, the humans continued to inspire the coalition. Talreen watched a human soldier help a wounded alien during a battle. The soldier's kindness in the middle of war reminded him that the fight was about more than just winning. "We are fighting for life, not just victory," Talreen said softly. Cross agreed. "The Voriks want to destroy what makes us alive. We fight to protect hope." But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. In a hidden base on a remote moon, coalition scientists analyzed the captured Voriks drone. What they found changed everything. The drone was not just a simple machine. It was connected to a larger intelligence, something ancient and powerful. The Voriks were guided by a force that could think and plan. Cross and Talreen studied the data together. "This is beyond anything we imagined," Talreen said. "The Voriks may be a weapon created long ago." Cross clenched his fists. "If that's true, then this war is not just about survival. It's about ending something old to make way for something new." Days later, the coalition prepared for another battle, one that could decide the fate of many star systems. Cross looked at his soldiers, standing strong and ready. He thought about Earth, about the humans who had joined this war, not just with weapons, but with heart and mind. The galaxy was changing, and so was the war. Everything was different now, because humanity had joined the fight. The war was no longer just a battle between the coalition and the Voriks. It had become a war of ideas, order versus chaos, control versus freedom. And in the middle of it all stood humanity. Colonel Adrian Cross stood inside the war room of the Argus, staring at a large holographic map. Red zones marked systems lost to the Voriks. Yellow zones were under attack. Only a few green areas remained, places still under coalition control. Talreen entered the room quietly. His eyes, always calm, now looked tired. "We lost 2 more colonies this week," Talreen said. "Even with new tactics, we can't be everywhere at once." Cross didn't answer right away. He placed both hands on the edge of the table and lowered his head. "We've given the coalition new tools, new strategies. We've shown them how to adapt," Cross finally said. "But it's not enough. The Voriks are learning too. They're copying us," Talreen nodded. "Yes, they are no longer charging blindly. They are setting traps. They are pulling back when outnumbered. They are even using decoys." Cross turned toward him. "They're becoming more human." The next mission was dangerous but necessary. A Vorik's communication relay had been discovered on a frozen moon near the edge of coalition space. Intelligence believed the relay was sending real-time data to the Vorik's command network. If they could destroy it, the Voriks would lose connection to their hive for weeks. Cross volunteered to lead the mission himself. A team of humans and alien specialists boarded the stealth ship Shadow Spear. The journey was silent. Everyone knew the risks. Many would not return. When the ship reached the frozen moon, snowstorms raged across the surface. The team landed in the shadows of sharp ice cliffs. "We move on foot from here," Cross said, loading his rifle. "No engines, no noise. We're ghosts." The team marched through the icy wasteland, following faint energy signals. Hours passed. The cold bit into their suits. Some slipped on the ice. Others grew quiet with fear. Then through the snow they saw it, the Vorik's relay. It looked like a giant black tower, pulsing with green light. Around it, Strange Vorix drones moved in slow circles, watching, waiting. Cross signaled the team to split up. Plant charges on the support structures. Then fall back to the ridge. The operation began. Step by step, the team placed explosives, but just as the last charge was armed, one of the alien engineers slipped on the ice. The sound alerted the drones. The ground shook as the Vorix swarmed forward. Fall back, Cross shouted. Laser fire lit the sky as the team ran through the storm. Cross stayed behind to cover them. His shots were quick and deadly, but the swarm was endless. Go, he yelled into the communicator. Blow the charges. The engineer hesitated. But you're still... Do it now. A massive explosion lit the sky. The tower crumbled, sending out a shockwave. The Vorix drones collapsed, their connection lost. The mission was a success, but not without a price. Cross was badly wounded. He was found half buried in snow, barely breathing. The team pulled him back to the ship and returned to the Argus. He spent a week in recovery. His body healed, but his spirit was restless. Talreen visited him often. You saved thousands of lives, Talreen said. The Vorix will take time to rebuild that relay. Cross looked up from his bed. But how many did we lose? 12 soldiers died on that mission. Talreen was silent for a moment. Then he said, This is war, Adrian. There is always a price. Cross closed his eyes. It's always the same. We get smarter, they get smarter. And people keep dying. As Cross recovered, tensions rose within the Coalition Council. Some leaders began to question human methods. They said the humans were changing the nature of the Coalition, turning it from a united defense force into something aggressive, something unpredictable. A speech was held in the Coalition Assembly Hall. Cross was asked to speak. He stood before a crowd of leaders, soldiers and citizens from across the galaxy. We were losing, he began. You all know it. For years we lost planet after planet. You fought bravely, but it wasn't enough. You followed the rules. The Vorix didn't. He paused, looking around the room. Then we came, and we didn't follow the rules. We did things differently, because that's what survival demanded. Some murmured in agreement. Others frowned. I know our ways are strange, sometimes dangerous, but they work. Not because humans are better, but because we adapt. We risk. We fight for something more than survival. We fight for freedom, for each other. He ended with a simple promise. We are not here to lead. We are here to stand beside you. Until this war is won. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then Talreen stood and began to clap. Slowly, others joined. Behind the scenes, Earth revealed its secret. For years, humanity had hidden its full military strength. While the Coalition thought Earth was still developing, it had quietly built a powerful fleet deep in its solar system. Advanced ships, new weapons, trained forces waiting for the right moment. Now that moment had come. A fleet of Earth warships, sleek and glowing with blue lights, arrived at the Coalition base. Their sudden appearance shocked many, but their presence also brought hope. Cross met with the new fleet's commander, Admiral Claire Voss, a calm but strong leader with years of experience. We've stayed hidden long enough, she said. Now it's time to end this war. As preparations began for a final push into Vorix-controlled space, a new transmission was intercepted. It wasn't in Vorix language. It was in perfect English. Colonel Cross, we understand you now. We see what makes you strong, and we will use it. The message came from a hidden Vorix command structure, one that was not supposed to exist. It moved through space. A living world. The Vorix home. It had never stayed in one place. That's why it was never found. Now it was heading straight for Coalition territory. Cross stared at the data with a heavy heart. They're not retreating, he said. They're coming for the final blow. Talreen stood beside him. Then we must stop them. Cross looked out at the stars. No, he said. We must do more than stop them. We must end them. The stars above the Coalition's capital world glowed peacefully, but everyone knew war was coming closer. Deep in space, the Vorix homeworld, once believed to be destroyed, was moving toward the heart of Coalition territory. It wasn't a normal planet. It was alive, massive, and filled with darkness. A hive world. Inside the Coalition Command Center, the final war plans were being made. Representatives of all 17 species sat around a long table. Admiral Claire Voss, Commander Talreen, and Colonel Adrian Cross stood at the front. Cross pointed at a large hologram showing the moving Vorix homeworld. This is our chance, he said. If we destroy it, we end the war. No more retreats. No more fear. But it's too strong, said a Zalari general. Its defenses are unlike anything we've seen. Admiral Voss stepped forward. That's why we use everything we have. Every fleet. Every soldier. Every tactic, human or alien. One final strike. Silence filled the room, then Talreen spoke. We fight. Together. If we fall today, let us fall with honor. But if we stand as one. The plan was simple but risky. The coalition fleet, with Earth's hidden armada at the front, would attack the Vorix world head-on. At the same time, small elite teams would sneak inside the Hive planet and try to destroy the control core from within. Cross, of course, volunteered to lead one of those teams. Are you sure? Voss asked him. There's a good chance you won't come back. Cross nodded. If this ends the war, it's worth the risk. The day of the final battle came. Over 3,000 ships from every corner of the galaxy flew through the stars. Human warships with glowing blue armor led the charge. Alien cruisers followed behind, their energy weapons ready. In front of them loomed the living planet of the Vorix. Its surface moved, covered in black structures that looked like claws. Giant tentacles reached out from the core, and swarms of enemy ships rose to defend it. Let's remind them who we are, Admiral Voss said, standing on the bridge of her flagship. Open fire, came the command. The sky lit up with beams, missiles, and explosions. Ships twisted and turned, dodging enemy fire. The sound of war echoed through every radio channel, and deep inside a stealth shuttle, Cross's team approached the surface of the Vorix world. They landed in a dark valley filled with strange growths and pulsing walls. The air smelled like burning oil and ash. This place is alive, said Lieutenant Asha, who had fought beside Cross many times. It's like it's watching us. Keep moving, Cross replied. The core is underground. We destroy it, we win. The team pushed forward, fighting small groups of Vorix drones, but these weren't mindless bugs anymore. They were using cover, setting traps and working as teams, just like humans had taught them by example. Cross didn't waste time. He moved like a ghost, fast and focused, shooting with precision and giving orders calmly. His team followed without question. Step by step, they reached a massive chamber beneath the surface. At its center was a glowing orb, the heart of the Vorix hive mind. But waiting for them was something unexpected. A large armored creature stepped out of the shadows. It was taller than any drone, with glowing red eyes and a voice that sent chills down their spines. Colonel Cross, it said, speaking in perfect English. We have learned from you. We thank you. Cross raised his weapon. I didn't come to teach you. No, the creature replied. You came to destroy us, but you brought something more dangerous, chaos. Cross narrowed his eyes. That's called freedom. The creature moved forward. You fight for emotion. We fight for purpose. You are fire. We are stone. But fire spreads fast. The room shook as more drones appeared. Cross and his team began to fight. Blasters lit the dark room. Explosions echoed through the chamber. Set the charges on the core, Cross shouted. I'll hold them. Asha and the others ran toward the glowing orb, placing explosives while Cross faced the large creature alone. The fight was brutal. The creature was fast and strong. It nearly crushed Cross, but he kept going. Every move he made was powered by purpose, not just survival but belief. I've seen what you do, Cross said through gritted teeth. You destroy. We build. With one final shot to the creature's eye, Cross brought it down. The team completed the setup. Charges ready, Asha called. Then get out, Cross ordered. The team ran for the exit, but Cross stayed behind. Colonel, Asha turned back. I need to trigger it manually. The signal's blocked. Asha's eyes filled with tears. You'll die, Cross smiled slightly. It's worth it. He pressed the trigger. The chamber exploded. The core shattered into pieces and a wave of light shot through the entire hive world. Across the battlefield in space, the Vorix ships froze. Their connection was lost. Their minds disconnected. One by one, they fell. On the Argus, Talreen saw the change on the battlefield. They've stopped, he whispered. On Admiral Voss's ship, officers cheered. It worked. They're finished. The Vorix ships crashed into each other, falling from the sky like burning stars. The war was over. 3 days later, a ceremony was held on the coalition capital. Statues of heroes were placed in the center square, figures of all species, standing side by side. And at the front was a statue of a human soldier holding a rifle, eyes forward. Talreen stood before a large crowd. His voice was steady. We fought for years. We lost much. But we also found something powerful, hope. And that hope came when the humans joined our fight. The crowd was silent as he continued. They didn't bring perfect order. They brought something better: freedom, change, courage. He paused, then looked up at the sky. Colonel Adrian Cross gave everything. He reminded us that we don't win wars by following rules. We win them by fighting for something greater than ourselves. A young child raised their hand. Is it true? One human saved the galaxy? Talreen smiled. No. One human helped us remember how to save it ourselves. Far away on a quiet green planet, a small grave rested under a tree. Flowers grew beside it. A metal plate read Colonel Adrian Cross, soldier, leader, human. He changed everything. And in the skies above, the stars were finally quiet.